Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Rav Shmuel Rosh with you, Rabbi Rob Shmuel Ben Yehoshua, Rabbi Stephen Epstein, with this week's 10-minute Torah. I know I'm going a little fast. I'm going to be away from the synagogue for a little bit and going to be out. And I just want to make sure I'm up to date. I always like to work a little harder prior to a vacation. I don't know why they call it a vacation. Yeah, you get away, but somebody in my case, I'm working harder to make up for the lost time. So it's almost like, what's the point? You just kind of got that rush prior. So, okay. Sutras are a little different, kind of like tied in the back, almost like a doo-wop rag. I think that's what they call it, right? A rag where you tie it in the back, like a lot of bodybuilders kind of do it. So, I kind of do this and do the turban. It depends. I kind of like I said, I kind of like it. Okay. We are coming into the high holidays. And this year, our synagogue is going to do our own selichot. In previous years, we've joined with other synagogues. Some of the folks that plan this are kind of out and about. They're not going to be doing it. One of them is semi-retired. So we're going to do this on our own. Oh, how's this go? There we go. And we're going to do our kind of our own thing, and Mars is going to be a little different. They're kind of a little bit more liberal, let's say, a little so not as much. So I'm going to be a little bit more traditional. But here's the thing. What are the high holidays for? What's it all about? High holidays, it's a celebration of a new year, but it's really a celebration of a second chance or another chance, let's say. Um, a lot of us are familiar, we're all familiar, right, with the secular New Year in January. And, we go out and we party and we make New Year's resolutions. I would propose to you that that is another adaptation of a Jewish tradition where every year we make pledges to do better and to do more and to really be on guard. Whereas the secular, what do? They say, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to eat better, be a little nicer. Okay, well, those are good goals, good objectives, right? In Judaism, of course, we take it a little bit more seriously, and it's a whole big thing. We go to prove our resolve, our sincerity by fasting. That's one of the reasons we fast. And we really spend all day in synagogue, some more than others, and we go over a whole laundry list of sins, if you call it. Um, Actually, it is. It's what it is. It's sins that we acknowledge that we've done, whether we think we've done it or not. We go through the laundry list because are we really all that honest with ourselves? Um, so there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And it kind of fits in with our theme of the week, our Parsha. In the theme key, in the theme, the Parsha, Ki Tavo, the theme is kind of like redemption. So when we come into the land, Ki Tavo, when you come in, you will take the first fruits of your labor, whatever they are, whether you are herding animals or whether you are growing crops or food, and you take it to the Kohanim, the Levites, and you present it and you say a declaration, these are my first fruits. An Aramean sought to castigate, or whatever the word is, don't have it in front of me, our ancestor, supposedly it's Laban and Jacob, and it's kind of like what we say during Passover. It's part of the Haggadah, where we say he tried to oppress our ancestors, but we prevailed. That's kind of like the long and short of it. And that is kind of the theme of us Jews. We have gone through the worst oppression any group has ever gone through for an extended period of time. Now, I'm not downplaying what other peoples have gone through. I mean, we have the Armenians, we have the Uyghurs in China, we have the Iraq and Iran killing their own people. So don't get me started. So, but this has been extended. This has gone on for years and years and years. It's People have tried to oppress us. They've tried to change who we are and what we do, and we've prevailed. And that's really part of the idea of the high holidays is giving thanks to God, right? This whole idea of the first fruits. But then as we get into the Parsha, there is a repeat of the Tochacha, the warning. Now, that is not in the first year triennial cycle because it's toward the end of the Parsha. But what the Tochacha is, it is a dire warning that if you fulfill the commandments, if you do your best to fulfill them, do what you're supposed to do, then things will work out. And if they don't, then things will not work out in very, very bad ways. And it's not just, well, if you do this, things will be great, like the second paragraph of the V'ahavta. And a lot of that gets repeated here. The rains will come in their proper time, the ground will produce. But with the Tochacha, there's these various stages because we don't learn after the first time. You think you can outsmart God. How many times have people tried to do that? You think people do things and they think there's going to be no consequences, or they rationalize it and say, well, I had a reason for it. We were haughty. That's what haughty means. We rationalized it. We said, well, the other person deserved it. Well, we cheated them, but they brought it on themselves. So they got what they deserved. That's not for us to decide. But here's the other thing about it. What exactly is reward and punishment in Judaism? There are places in the Torah where it goes right into the Tochacha. And as people don't listen to the first warning, first there's a little bit of a warning, you see things getting bad, and there's an opportunity to change. And if you don't change, things get a little bit worse, and then finally, there's disaster. And a lot of people have pointed to this and said, we Jews deserve what's happened to us over the last whatever. I don't buy it. And I'm going to tell you, I don't buy it. I don't believe God is up there with maybe God is, with a whole ledger saying, okay, you got this for you. You got this against you. Let's measure it. And let's see if you get inscribed in the book of life to live another year. That's very cut and dried. It's very black and white. Life is not like that. We do good things. We do bad things. If your life is generally good, then you're a good person. If your life is generally bad, well, you're a bad person. I don't, things happen for a reason. And the reasoning is beyond our ability to comprehend. Some people say past lives. Some people say it's, God's deciding who does what. And what about Rabbi Akiva? The guy was one of the greatest teachers of ever. And he was beheaded by the Romans. How did that happen if the guy was so righteous? How do you explain it? Well, the sages say, well, he was a martyr, or when a sage dies, then they basically release a lot of evil. They take a lot of their death compensates for a lot of the evil in the world. Okay, those are good rationalizations, but the bottom line is we really don't know. But how do we deal with this? You do the best you can. And you don't dwell on the reasons for it. I've had people come to me and they do this. They look at their life and they say, gosh, I must have done something. And most of us do that. It's kind of a joke. Boy, I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I sure hope I had a good time doing it. Okay. Again, as a rabbi, I will tell you, I don't believe it's that bad. I don't believe it's that cut and dried. I can't. Judaism is a religion of life. It's a religion of humanity. That's why Judaism developed, because the world was going. We had murder in the second generation of humans. Then we had people trying to, build a big tower to fight God, and you saw what the ancient people did. There was no laws. If you were king, you made the laws, and that's it. You had a bad day, well, off with their head or that head, and when Judaism, we said, no, you can't do that. You can't treat people that way. There is a God. We are all divine. Okay. So as we start to approach the high holidays, And if you're not Jewish and you're watching this, think about it a little bit. I believe personally, Yom Kippur should be a national holiday. It's the Day of Atonement, but for anybody who's not Jewish, it should be a day of reflection. Think about it. What if the government said, okay, we're going to have a day when everybody just stops and you reflect, look at yourself, think of what you're doing. People say, well, isn't that what New Year's is for? Well, show me people that do that on New Year's. Usually they're out partying, they get up the next morning and they're regretting what they did the night before. I don't know if that's so much reflection, right? But hey, we can shoot for the best. That's what life's all about. It's about growth. And we have lofty goals and we do the best we can. We deal with whatever comes our way. We do the best we deal with it in the best way we can on the level of the solution, and we move on. So let's let that be our lesson of Parsha Ki Tavo. When you come to the land, do the best you can, do the commandments, repent, and teshuva, come back when you can, and let's leave it at that. Shabbat shalom.